Stop scrolling. Hi, I'm Jonathan from Potency.world, business transformation, education transformation, and social mobility transformation in one. Are you stressed? I think you must be, because if you're in one of these doom scrolls, that's what we do when we're stressed. So if you are, you want to listen to this interview coming up, because the Harley Street Stress Express master is joining us for the interview. So this lady has more than 20 years expertise in solving people's sleep problems, anxiety problems, and stress problems. And I asked her to come on this show because I've been having some trouble sleeping. And she said to me that's quite common. So I give you the amazing Caroline Heward. Caroline, hello.
Hello, thank you very much, Jonathan. And yes, I most certainly can help you cut through why you're not sleeping.
Yes.
So I'm going to go into a little bit of a story.
Okay.
When you were born Gugu and Gaga. There was no mind. I promise you, no mind. And life happens, things happen, stuff happens. And what happens is that the body starts to respond and react, and it protects you. The body is a self-defense mechanism. It's a beautiful, perfect self-defense mechanism. And in order to stop you being hurt, it will shut down the feelings and emotions, which reside in the belly, below the belly button. That is where also the sexual energy resides, and that is also known as our relationship center. Now, when the feelings and emotions are shut down, the escape route is the mind. And during the day, we are thinking, analysing, conversing, and we're in our mind. We're in the thinking and the conversation. Many of us have a conversation going on in our mind without anybody else knowing. We've got a huge dialogue, like a soap opera, like a movie, and you're the main movie star. And what happens is that when people are speaking to you, this movie is still going on. You're still in conversation. So you miss what other people are saying when you're in dialogue. And so during the day, we have distractions. We have our work, we have eating, we have conversation with other people. So we are very distracted. And that's the preamble. Now, when we go to bed, that is still going on. So there is still the movie, there is still the inner dialogue of conversation. There is no distraction anymore. So you're in bed and you're tossing and turning. Maybe you might have decided to count sheep. But what happens is that there is no distraction. So that thinking, that movie, all those thoughts are playing out all the time, which is why sleep is difficult. So you might land up falling asleep, exhausted. And then when you wake up, sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and then you can't get back off to sleep again.
Yeah.
But the reason for that is that like in our normal daily activity, we
Mm.
have like off switches where we are listening, where we're not in dialogue. We can't be we can't be in that conversation all the time. There are pauses, there are breaks, there is a breath. And when we're in that pause, what happens is that we might be so tired that we will go into a lulled sleep. But
Mm.
then when we wake up again, because the movie has continued and we wake back up again, we've got all of the thoughts, no distractions. And because there's no distractions, we find it hard to sleep. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things I would suggest is that you have a little journal by the side of you, with a pen and a notepad. And if whatever's in your head at that time, and I'm saying this literally because it's worked for me, whatever
Hmm.
is on your mind, it might be that you mustn't forget to do something. You must remember to call so and so. You must remember to buy, to go to the supermarket and buy things for tea before the shop closes. Whatever it is that's come up. And we do have the mundanity during the night because there is no distraction. Whatever it is, write down what the thoughts are that come up. And when you've emptied it into your notepad, the mind stops thinking
Mm.
about it because the mind stays in control. It stays active and it stays alert because it doesn't want you to forget anything. And so when you have a strategy, this is a practical strategy of emptying your mind on paper, and then the mind goes, oh right, I can forget about that now. I don't need to worry about that. And
Let me
because
ask you, because I was literally before you said it, and I chuckled slightly because you said the very thing I was going to mention, which is this notebook. What's your perspective on how to write it down and what sort of length it might be
whatever
to
it
be
is,
useful?
whatever it is that you're saying in your
Hmm.
head, just write it all down.
Right.
Because when you write down everything that you're thinking, and then it will be what I would call automatic writing, that you've
Mm.
emptied your head with whatever you are thinking. And sometimes, especially if we've got a big day ahead of us, or we need to get up really early, but we're tired and we can't go to sleep, and we're worried that the alarm might not go off, or we sleep through the alarm. I've done that so many times that it's important that we stay alert. And so when there's a big thing like a hospital appointment or a big meeting or an interview, something that takes our attention and our
Mm.
focus, the mind doesn't want us to sleep through the alarm. So the mind will stay active and it will keep active because it doesn't want you to miss it. I mean, how clever is that? But the challenge is that it's not productive because you need your sleep. I've many times, and it was a big deal for me. What I did was, I was advised by one of my mentors to not have an alarm on, and that freaked me
Mm.
out. I just thought,
Mhm.
oh no, I can't miss out. And it's quite amazing that the body, if you trust it, you wake up in time. It's a very
Mhm.
scary thing, but
Mm.
it's amazing how it works. And it's almost like you sleep much deeper and then without the shock of the alarm, because the alarm
Yeah.
shocks your system.
So here's my question to you. I have not, for the last 30 years, had an alarm. I don't even have a smartphone. I don't take my phone into the room with me. There are a lot of other things I do, which are called sleep hygiene. Which of those would you get involved in that you have a perspective on that you would help me or another customer with?
That's a great question, Jonathan, and one that many people ask. Sleep hygiene, that term, what is it? What does it mean? Because many people that can't sleep haven't even heard of sleep hygiene. And so it's a great perspective that you've brought up. And just in case there's any viewer here on this show that hears the term and wonders what it is, it's a philosophy of emptying all of the things that will be your distraction. So to turn off your phone, to not be watching TV at least an hour before you go to bed, to
Yeah.
keep your environment that you're sleeping in screen free. Now,
Hmm.
how many people have their phones right next to them? And I am one of them because people call me in the middle of the night. And that's something that is not good. I go into a lot of meditational practices, so I can
Okay.
really trip out of being in this space of the mind, but
Right.
many people can't. So I would put your phone on silent, and if you can, and I do say this because for a lot of people it's a huge challenge, if you can, put it into another room.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thought that if you can put it into another room, then
Tell you what, actually, Caroline, on that point. So people say lots of things to themselves. We're talking about stories and our mind and all the rest of it. And the story that goes with phones is that, oh God, I've got to have it on. I've got to have it on in case I get a call in the middle of the night. Obviously, there are times you need that, but quite a lot of times that you don't. Most times you don't. And people say to me, "Oh yeah, I say turn it off." Then they say, "Oh no, I have to have it on for my alarm." So everyone with a smartphone, I don't have one, that's looking at this interview, turn your phone off, the alarm turns it back on. So the excuse, the rationale for having it on is a lie. So that is a good way that everyone just turn the phone off, get into bed, turn it off, sit there for half an hour, read, listen to the radio, meditate, whatever. What other things do you help your clients do then with regard to sleep?
well, because the mind is busy, and this is more of a therapy side of it, I would look at in terms of the relationship with the client. I would then ask about what's going on in their life. And
Right.
so we've looked at the practical side of that the mind is busy and why it's busy and why we're in that conversation during the day and that it continues at night. But from a therapy perspective, I would look and speak to my client in terms of what's going on in their life. What is it that's the challenge for them? What is it that
Mm,
they're struggling with? What is it that they're not dealing with? And it might be that there's a stressful situation with a work colleague. It might be that there's a stressful situation within the family. And there
mm,
certainly has been huge cause in this last 5 years for people to be stressed within their families, within their relationships, because of huge, massive global changes of the way we work, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. The fact that we're here on Zoom now
mm.
wasn't even a thing 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Sort of at the beginning of the year in January, this just wasn't a thing. We weren't chatting on screens. So now we've become so much even more integrated into our screen than ever before.
Mm, mm,
And what happens is that we get lost in this two-dimensional screen identity and environment. And then what's going on in the life, it might be that there's been a bereavement. There
mm.
could be that there's been a breakdown in a relationship, or a promotion loss, or a
Yeah.
promotional gain within your working environment and culture. So this is your life. So now we're looking at what's going on that's difficult. And the fact that we've been thrown together in different environments in terms of our home, and many people are now working in their home from the office, and so
Mm,
they're always there. And there has been many instances where people are within their relationship, their family, their work, and it's all in the same place. So there's no escape. And this will bring up personal challenges within the family, within the
mhm,
environment of the relationship, the intimacy, and also within the environment of self-care. where are the boundaries? And all of these things can become challenging, can be difficult. And through my very small process of my deliberate technique of questioning what's going on without needing tons of detail, what it will allow the person to do is be aware of the challenges and given them the space to release any emotions and feelings about what they're not handling from a feeling and an emotional place. That allows the mind to calm. That allows the person to feel like they've lifted, that they've shed some weight, because it might be that there's a problem with a bereavement issue, or there's been a lost friendship. Many people have had friendship and relationship breakdowns within this last 5 years. Many people have got married, and they met their partner online, and that will also be a change. So these things have an effect, and if we haven't processed, and this is very specifically from a feeling and an emotional place, what happens is we shut down the emotions and feelings, and then the route then for the mind to take control and to stay safe so it doesn't get hurt is to then go into...
When you say it doesn't get hurt, you mean psychologically speaking?
Yes, the body is a perfect self-defense mechanism, so it doesn't want to be hurt. Even at 2 years old, if there's trauma in the family, if there's something that's happened, like for instance, there's been a separation or a breakdown in the relationship of the husband and wife, what will happen is that will affect the baby, and the child will feel if one of the parents has left, even though they don't understand.
Well, on that very point, so I'm adopted, where my mother was forced to give me up on day 2, and I wasn't adopted till month 9, and in that intervening period I'm just in a cot in a room with lots and lots of babies, so I didn't get picked up. I didn't crawl around as a baby. So for the first year so my second year of life, I had to have a specialist OT working my legs because they didn't work. So, and I didn't understand, don't remember that, nothing, but I was advised to read a book called The Primal Wound about adopted children, and every single one of my behaviors was written down on the page. I went, wow, I obviously was traumatized by it. I wanted to go back and ask you a quick question about stories and internal dialogue and movies. So you're a neuro-linguistic practitioner, master practitioner. I'm a master practitioner. You and I both understand innately about the representational systems. So I'm dyslexic, and I think it's fair to say, I keep on looking or listening. I don't have an internal monologue at all, but I do have between 6 and 18 spheres of perception, of vision. So that is as busy as, it's the same thing, it's just used in a different way. So I wanted to ask, there was a book I read called Lost Connections. I think it's by a guy called Jonathan Hari. He'd been put on, is it SSRIs? Anxiety drugs, depression?
I'm not sure, because I don't get into the world of pharmaceutical medication, so I'm not able to tell you. But there are so many different types of medication.
There are.
Sleeping medication is what I would put that down to.
So the reason I asked the question is because I'm wondering, why does prescribed medication for physical or emotional and mental pain not get rid of the problem? That's why I don't understand that.
Well, that's because when we take something, so for instance, say if we're not sleeping, and then the doctor prescribes a sleeping pill to help you sleep. And this is an analogy for many people that they can't sleep. They go to the doctors. The doctor says, what's the problem? And then he's prescribing, he's writing a script out almost instantly, probably without even asking you anything about what's going on in your life. And that's because we have a very busy NHS that is symptom managing. And
Yeah.
when we are taking the sleeping pill, yes, it will knock us out. We'll wake up feeling groggy the next day, and then we don't sleep the next night because of this busy mind that's going on. And so we take another pill. We could get knocked out in terms of sleep, and then we're knocked out really during the day. We're not fully, we're almost like still having the effects of the sleeping pill, and then by the time we get to the night again, we can't sleep, so we take another pill. It's a cycle. What's happening is that it's never looking at why. It's never looking at what is causing the sleep problem, what is making you not sleep. And so this cycle of taking pharmaceutical intervention medication, so if you have a migraine, taking a pill to stop the pain, if you're feeling sick, taking a pill to stop you feeling sick, why is it that those symptoms are coming up? And so we are in a society, the Western society is very much about managing symptoms. And if you ask any professional doctor, they will say we are symptom managers. They're not looking at what's caused it, so what's behind it. Whereas when I would work with a client, I would look at what's causing the migraine, what's causing the sleep problems. And just to mention that, because I want to give a little bit of understanding, we've looked at how busy the mind is. But migraine in particular, many people suffer with migraine.
They do.
And it is, when you have a migraine, the only thing that you can do to get rid of it is that you have to lie down, you have to stop everything, lie down in a darkened room with your eyes closed. That's the only way you can get rid of a migraine. Now, if you look at that activity and that sense of what you do, it is a time, if you look at the behavioural aspects of treating a migraine without the painkiller, is that it's downtime, it's time out, it's switch off time. And really, a migraine comes up because the mind is so busy that the head aches with all the thoughts of everything that's going on. And because our mind aches with so much that we can't cope anymore. And this is where brain fog can come in. We can't cope because the mind is just too busy and the head literally hurts with all of the thoughts and all of the pain. And it causes a severity of a high acid within the body, and it comes up from the temples here. So the body becomes very acidic, which is what happens when we're stressed. The body goes from an alkaline to feeling very acidic. And when it does that, that acidity creates the pain in the different places. And the only thing that we can do is stop. So when we get a migraine, it is the body's mechanism to make you stop.
So I'm coming to you as a patient. I'm having these issues, and I mean, literally, probably every other person I speak to has, not every other, maybe 1 in 3, but certainly it's very prevalent, the situation with migraines. I'm coming to you. Is the migraine the sign that I've burnt out? Is there something I should notice before that happens?
In your life, because I always look at the client, not the symptom. They give me the symptom and that tells me 1,000 things about what's going on. So if they say, I keep getting migraines, it's the story that they tell. Well, I've got this going on, that going on. There might be 10 things that they're juggling. And because they're juggling lots of things, it might be a massive deadline. It might be things that have gone wrong. It might be something that's going on with the family, with the relationship, whatever it is. But there'll be lots of things that are going on for the person. And then they're not taking or feeling comfortable to take a break because they feel guilty. So this is what's going on in the person's life. They're on 24/7, and you mentioned the word burnout. Burnout
Yeah.
is very much, but the person won't recognize burnout. They won't see that they're going to the point of burnout, because we don't see. We're in, I call it, we're in the forest and we can't see the wood through the trees. We're just in it. We can't
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, yeah. Do you know what? I mean, I said, and I said that we were on a call together. I don't have a smartphone, and my new car, the Bluetooth doesn't even work, so I can't even take calls in the car. And I was going to try and get it sorted out, and I thought to myself, do you know what? That's another space between me and being hassled that I actually quite appreciate it. Okay. So sleep is critical for mental health
yes.
and mental well-being. I know this, and the reason we ask these questions is I've had issues with sleep for the last 30 years, for reasons we can discuss at another point. But these are very useful things, and the journal at the side of the bed, I've used that. It definitely worked for me. You might find so. Maybe before you turn your phone off, you could maybe just record something, the sort of list you would write down, so you know it's a recording in your phone. And that way you're achieving what Caroline is recommending, and you're causing yourself to use your phone in a different way, which is a little bit like cognitive behavioral therapy, insofar as same device, different behavior, which should lead to more peace. So Caroline, what else, if I've met you at one of these networking sessions, what do I need to know? All your contact details obviously are going to be below the video and when you post it out. What would you say if you're staring right down the barrel of the camera now, speaking to the person who's going to watch this video? What would you ask of them?
It's not okay to suffer. And when you're suffering in any kind of pain, whether it's sleep, whether it's relationship issues, whether it's physical or mental pain like depression, anxiety, or you just can't switch off and you don't know where to go, it's a sign that something's not right. And when something's not right, to reach out to get help. And many people will pop a pill because it's the most natural thing in our culture, in our society that we are living in today. It is so prevalent,
toxic,
that
yeah,
it's there. You know, I've got a headache, I'll pop a pill. I've got an ache and pain, I'll pop another pill. My invitation, and it is that, is to stop and to consider what's going on. What is it that you're not dealing with? And it's that I would be able to help you with. I would love to be able to help you unravel what you're not handling from a personal perspective, in terms of the personal challenge. So the feelings and emotions about what's going on in your life in terms of anger. Why are you anxious? Why are you stressed? Why are you suffering in your relationship? Why are you suffering with the fact that you're not sleeping? I will almost go under the boot, go under the cover and look at why. And in the why, in awareness and understanding, that's the first step to solving. That's the first step of therapy. And I would give you that so that then we can look at solution. And really, sleeping as well as not having migraines, for instance, these are the telltale signs. It's not that it's a regular thing, because it is. And many people say, oh, I'm not sleeping, but that's normal. When we normalize something, we keep the perpetuated cycle of and it's not good, because if we're not sleeping, we're not fueling our tank. You can't run a car on empty. and you can't run a car with no oil, no water, no gas, no it shows you what I do a lot of US stuff, no petrol, no diesel. You can't run the car on empty, and if you're not sleeping, you're not eating, and you're not resting, the body will stop, it will cease to function. And these signs of the physical, emotional, mental pain are your warning signs to seek help, so that you start to handle what you're not handling from an emotional place. And I would love to help you. We're for a free initial consultation for about 15 minutes, and then we could looking at a one-off session, or a small package of 3, or a whole of life session, because we're not walking around with one symptom. We're walking around with many symptoms. And what I will do is I will identify the root cause of each specific symptom, and that will allow you to almost, was that what it was? And it could be something, just as you mentioned about sleep, I wanted to mention about abandonment. Many of us in our childhood suffer abandonment, and especially as you mentioned that you were adopted and there was no love, there was no connection. And so many things, even when we're adults and we're very, very much more mature and successful people in business and in our occupations, and yet we've come from that side of things in terms of our childhood, it has a huge impact.
Massive.
And we might think, it doesn't matter anymore, but it does matter, because everything is formed from those things that happened to us that we weren't really aware of, that we've almost painted over. We put a band-aid, a sticky plaster over it, because it's not relevant anymore, but it has an effect.
Excellent advice. Reach out to Caroline for sure. I'll just add my 2 penneth at the end here. It's not even mine. It's from a book called Why We Sleep by Matt Walker. He has a number of TED Talks, and the business idea I'm taking forward has built within it nap pods. So he's shown that, or experiments have shown that if you set your alarm on your phone for like 20 minutes, so it's anywhere between 5 and 30 minutes most importantly, before you go into an REM state of sleep. So the first reaching up to the REM, that can give you the same benefit neurologically speaking as 2 hours of proper sleep. So if you find yourself during the day knackered, then Google, other companies like that, they have these places where literally the employee just gets up, goes over, lies down, sleeps, 20 minutes back up. Because ultimately that's what gets you productivity, not the macho stress inviting issues that Caroline has spoken about so clearly. And the only thing we've got now is your song choice. You wrote, hang on, how many O's? There are so many, 5 O's. So Caroline's song is Natasha Bedingfield, Unwritten. Caroline Heward, it's been very informative. I hope to speak to you again. Say goodbye to the viewers.
Thank you. Goodbye.